Welcome to Nutter's Garage. How about some IH stuff today? So this is my 1978 Scout 2. It's got a 345 V8 in it with a 4-barrel. A lot of Scouts just came with the 2-barrel, but occasionally they came with the 4-barrel. Originally, this would have had a thermoquad. Well, it didn't have a thermoquad when I got it. What it had was a 1-inch spacer to an Edelbrock, and the Edelbrock was severely corroded. It was just seized. So I needed to change it out. I ended up finding a Quadrajet from a 75 or 76 C10 for this. Just a 350 truck. So I figured 350, 345, probably close enough. And it is. It's close enough to drive it around. But the calibration isn't real good on it. And especially the cold weather drivability or the cold start drivability isn't real good. It's got the thermostatic spring for the choke, both on the Quadrajet and on the manifold, which you'd think would be compatible, but they're not that compatible. It's hard starting when it's cold, and if I adjust the choke richer, it doesn't pull off when it's warm. So my answer, I think I'm going to put a Holley with an electric choke on it. I know, could just do a manual choke, but I'd rather, have an electric choke. So this is a Holley. It's a 4175. It's an 80555C. It's supposed to be a direct replacement for a Quadrajet from a Chevrolet. Well, I guess we're going to find out. I'm going to tear into it right now. All right, here's the Quadrajet. Pretty run-of-the-mill Quadrajet. I just wanted to give you a quick look at the install. And we got a couple things that might be problematic. One is this huge water neck. Actually, this thick piece in here, that's the housing for the bypass hose, and then I think the thermostat's up here. We don't want to mess with that. And then we got an EGR back there. Hopefully that doesn't get in the way. I don't know. We'll tear into it, get this thing off, throw that Holley on there, and see what happens. Direct replacement for a Quadrajet, they say. Well, there was a Quadrajet there before and it fit right, but this is nowhere near sitting down. Yep, this fuel inlet sticks out too far. I actually think this float bowl screw might have been okay. Well, I think it would be okay. So there's an answer. Let me show you the answer. We'll be right back. So here's my answer, or what I think is my answer. It's a side inlet float bowl. Obviously, I got some assembly to do. I got a float and spring and accelerator pump and a whole bunch of stuff to put together on that. But let's get it put together and see if this thing will actually drop onto that manifold or not. Wow, is this ever close? Looks like it's there, but it isn't quite there. As you can see, I can move that gasket. Just touching on the corner here. Just touching on the bolt. I believe I can make this work. I got it. Wasn't without its difficulties, but I got clearance now. Enough to wiggle it around. Enough for some movement even up there. Good enough for me. Let me pull it off. I'll show you what I did, and then, well, I guess I got to get that float bowl set up now that I know it'll work. So there's the answer. Had to do a bunch of grinding on the bowl. I'm not through. I don't think it's going to leak. I mean, we'll find out, but it doesn't look like it's gonna, and had to grind the bolt head down. Good enough for me. An answer's an answer. So let's get this thing back together. We'll get it on there. So I'm going to end up using accelerator pump parts off of this bowl. Probably use that float. This has an adjustable needle and seat, so I'll use that. I'll get the height set up. Got the umbrella for the accelerator pump. We know we'll need a new one. You can never reuse those. And then I've got this really nice quick change vacuum secondary spring kit, and I'll put that on too. Look at this. This float bowl is so old, it doesn't use the umbrella. It uses a check ball. Pretty wild. I wonder how old that thing is. We're getting somewhere. Brad's here helping. So it's on. To tighten down this nut, I had to take the accelerator pump arm off. That back one was pretty easy. Around on this side, normally the coil would block this one right here, so we'd take the coil off, come from underneath, and that one just, you know, was a pain to get started, but it's good now. So there we go. All right, back to hooking stuff up. We'll have it running pretty quickly. All right, she's warmed up. It's at hot idle. I have adjusted the idle speed. It's maybe a little on the low side, but let's give it a try. And tweaked the idle mixture screws. They were really close. They're just a tiny bit richer than they were from the factory. And boy, she's more responsive. So let's go for a drive. All right, let's take this thing on a little test ride. It's slow. It's an IH. What are you expecting? Smog era International Harvester V8 was rated at less than 200 horsepower. Then I got 35-inch tires with 373 gears. Could definitely be geared lower for these tires. There's a new whistle. I assume that's from the camera out on the hood. It seems to be driving good. So I've got the idle speed set. I've got the idle mixtures adjusted. Other than that, it was just basically making sure everything's hooked up right and nothing's leaking. The whistle is part throttle on that carb. That's interesting. Well, I can go down the road without a whistling, so that's okay. Idle speed is maybe just a tad low. I don't know, pretty good. Boy, this Scout now, the mid-throttle response is considerably better with the Quadrajet. Just like going around that corner and accelerating, vastly improved. So I think this was worth it. So I'm going to sign off here. Thanks for watching.